Right. So this is going to be a quick rundown of what ISO 27001 is, what's its relation to the NIS directive, a few pointers on the NIS directive. So we're going to show the relevant legislation. We are going to show the relevant ISO standards that we are concerned with. We are going to talk a bit about what information security is and what the difference between information security and cybersecurity is, what an information security management system is, what's the process towards 27001, and its relation to the NIS directive. And what we will end with a question that needs to be raised in each organization regarding what compliance to the minimum security measures is. So the NIS directive is an EU-wide legislation on cybersecurity. It provides legal measures to boost the overall level of cybersecurity in the EU. The medical device regulations are provisions related also to IT security for hardware and software for all medical devices and for all manufacturers. Guidance on cybersecurity for medical devices on repeatability, principles of development life cycle, etc. And finally, the General Data Protection Regulation. I'm going through these quickly because it seems to be very difficult to handle cybersecurity when you have all that legislation on you, but you don't know where to start from. The trick here is that there are a lot of commonalities between these. So, for example, it's about appropriate technical and organizational measures in all of them. So IT security measures. It's about securing network and information systems and data and information. It's about doing impact assessment. It's about risk management. It's about reporting data breaches or incidents or however they are called in each one. So there are certain commonalities, and there is a set of standards provided by multiple organizations, but we will focus on one at this instance, the International Standards Organization, and certain standards that are common across the board when talking about information security, cybersecurity, and all that. So it's ISO 27001 is the basis for what we use to apply an information security management system. ISO 31000 refers to risk management, so guidelines on how to perform risk management, and ISO 31004 is the guidance for the implementation of ISO 31000. ISO 27002 has the code of practice for information security controls. We'll get a bit into what those controls are in just a second. And then there are two more specific standards. One is health informatics, information security management in health. And this is an implementation of 27002 for health, and information security incident management. All these chapters of ISO 27001 are more or less explained and further elaborated on other standards. So the idea is that you start with the basic text of the ISO 27001, which is small. The main piece of text is something like 9 pages. It's nothing really big. And then it has a second part, which has the controls, and that you can also work with specific ways to handle risk and do your audits and all the process. So you can say that it can start from 27001, but in all actuality, it starts from ISO 9001. So a quality management system can be the basis for how you set up your information security management system. So the way that you handle your documentation, your processes, and the actual application of a day-to-day used system is what can lead you to actually set up a system which is also for information security. So what's the difference between information security and cybersecurity? Because I know a lot of people use these two terms interchangeably. Information security refers also to the physical world, and this is the exceptional difference between the two. Cybersecurity refers to systems and network security and the internet and the cyberspace, but information security refers to everything, refers to any kind of security that has to do with information. Now, why security is attributed with three quantifiers: the confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Probably a lot of you have heard of the CIA principle of information security. Confidentiality means that only people who should have access to information should be provided that access. Integrity means that data is not deleted, it's not lost, it's not changed without the appropriate access rights. And accessibility refers to that the data, the information needs to be accessible. As I said, when talking about information security in general, that also means file cabinets, it means desks, it means everything. Now, this is not limited, but this is where most should start, because in all actuality, there are other terms that have been added, like non-repudiation, which refers to the knowledge that an action was performed by a certain actor, and that actor is not able to deny the action that they performed on the data, accountability on breaches or anything else on the information, and reliability. Now, an information security management system is, as the most important word here says, a system. So it means that it has to be put in place and it has to be operated. And the information security management system is described in 4 continuous steps: planning, doing, checking, and acting. This is the exact terminology that is used also in the standard. So it means to plan means to establish policies, objectives, and procedures. Use the describe the context and the framework on which information security will be applied. To do is to actually implement the policies and the objectives and the procedures and controls, which means to basically run the system, allow it to work, to operate, to produce results, check the monitor, check those results, monitor the system as it works, review those results, assess those results, and then act to audit the system, to update and improve it. And then after you suggest the updates and improvements on the system, then you go back to planning it and setting up the new policies or updating the existing one, new objectives, new procedures, etc. So you actually put it in an actual loop, usually a yearly loop to actually do this. So the document itself guides you through the process, and it shows you those steps as the document progresses. So initially you describe the context of the organization. A very important thing I want to stress here, and it will be near the conclusions of this presentation, is about leadership and commitment. And that if commitment isn't present in an organization, the system cannot be set up. So without leadership and management, top management commitment that the implementation of an information security management system is a project and not something which is just some templates of policies or anything like that, the information security system cannot be applied and you don't actually get the benefits of having a system like that. Then it goes to planning. It describes the how it's supported, how you operate it. So this is the part on which the do phase is. You evaluate its performance and then you improve it, and then you go back to the context, the leadership, the planning, and so on. You will be able to have the presentation if you like for the more details that are presented here. So when implementing the actual information security management system, you go through certain steps that are quite literally described here. So after you get management commitment and you define it as a project, which means that you get signatures, literal, from the management of your organization, your hospital, and you present, after you present them the reasons why to seek something like that, then you start defining the scope, setting up an information security policy, doing all the steps that we will also discuss in other presentations in this session. And then you operate the ISMS, you monitor it, you do one internal audit, one management review, you do corrective actions on the results of the audit, and then you ask for an external audit and hopefully get the certification. So it's not about producing a set of documents and then asking for a certification on them. It's actually going through the process of running the system for a certain amount of time. And let me stress that this is usually something like 1 year, or it could be even more in some cases. And then you ask from an external auditor to come and certify you. Now, people usually obsess on the second part of the of ISO 27001, which is the Annex A, and more specifically the controls. It's a list of things, suggestions that you can do in order to be compliant. So it's usually treated as a checklist, and it is more or less a checklist, but you have to go through all the previous steps in order to make it work, because the security of a system is as secure as its weakest part, which means that if you treat this as a checklist and just go through it and say, okay, do we have a policy? Okay, we have a document for the policy. That may cross it out in the checklist, but it's not. It doesn't catch the meaning of it. But at least for the controls, there is a very nice guide provided by ENISA, the NIS Cooperation Group Minimum Security Measures for OES, which actually links the requirements of the NIS directive with specific standards. And as I mentioned beforehand, ISO 27099, which implements the requirements of the controls from ISO 27001 through 27002, which is an elaboration of those controls, is a good way to look at it, but it's not enough. So if you do the checklist, minimum does not mean enough. A system that is put in place needs resources, it needs time, and needs commitment. So it's not about the letter of the law in order to be secure. Cybersecurity isn't about checklists, it isn't about document templates, and it isn't only about compliance. Now, there's from NIS again, the guidelines on assessing DSP and OES compliance to the NIS directive security requirements has a self-assessment management framework. It's a great resource to get you started on that, but you should also check and pay attention to the importance of setting up a system, an information security management system. So implementation of the spirit of the NIS directive implies a requirement for the establishment of an information security management systems with a very wide scope. And if you want me to get into some details on what that scope is and what it means for your organization, I'm free to answer any questions you have. Thank you.